Hello, this is Maggie from End Yoga. Today, in lieu of a movement yoga practice, instead, I would like to offer you a meditation practice. This particular type of meditation is known as Tonglen meditation, and if you have ever taken a teacher training or a yoga class with Jonina Terzi, then you are most likely already somewhat familiar with this particular type of meditation. This type of meditation is frequently referred to as sending and taking, or giving and receiving. I have also heard it referred to as a meditation for difficult times. And boy, if a phrase didn't more describe the situation that we find ourselves in now, having gone through and still in the process of going through a COVID-19 pandemic, and now a new light being shown on police brutality and the way that Black Americans are treated in this country. So that is why I have selected this type of meditation. The idea of this type of meditation is to connect with suffering with the purpose of overcoming that suffering. And traditionally, this meditation is done by the practitioner for others. Today, we will start a little differently, as I realize some of you might be new to this type of meditation, but is normally done by the practitioner for other people in order to connect with suffering with the purpose of overcoming fear and overcoming pain. It also means that when we open ourselves up to the suffering of others, we can foster our compassion. And in fostering our compassion, we are more ready to take action when action is needed. Now, this type of meditation in no way is I wouldn't advocate for it being a substitution for any social justice work that you would like to participate in, but it might be a way that you could add to that. It's a way to maybe prepare and center yourself so that you can take additional steps, no matter what that is, whatever you choose. So with all meditation practices, we want to be comfortable in our seat as much as possible. If you find that sitting upright is painful in any way or is really difficult for you, you could also lay down on the earth and take both of your hands to your heart or take your arms at your sides. If you are like me and you are choosing to sit upright, maybe you'd like to take your back against a wall to allow you to come into better alignment, and also so that you feel really nice and supported. Or you can just go ahead and find whatever comfortable seat works for you. Eyes can be opened, eyes can be closed, whatever you feel most comfortable with. But if your eyes are closed, see if you can allow the muscles of the face to relax. If your eyes are open, see if you can allow the gaze to relax. And just start to breathe here. Just start to take a few deep, even, and smooth breaths here. If at any point you feel like you need to adjust your posture so that your ears can be truly over your shoulders and so that your rib cage can truly be over the base, or the bowl rather, of the pelvis, please feel free to make those adjustments. Just like the breath, alignment tends to kind of come and go, so to speak. So remember, always bring some engagement to your core, and imagine that the crown of your head is moving farther away from your sitting bones to create more length along the spine. And that particular cue would be relevant regardless of whether you are on your back, laying in Shavasana on the earth, or if you are seated. Just imagine that the crown of your head is moving away from your sitting bones, creating more length in the spine. Imagine that your back ribs are gently knitting in towards each other and then moving slightly forward towards the back of the heart, almost like you're trying to do just a very gentle, tiny, tiny little back bend, but only in the thoracic spine. We want to allow that curve in the lumbar spine to be relatively minimal, so engage those upper abdominal muscles and pull them in towards your spine. Taking a few more breaths here. Maybe lifting and then rotating your shoulder blades further onto the back of your body if that's needed. And maybe tucking your chin gently in towards your voice box without allowing the back of your head to just kind of fall forward, or your head in general to fall forward. Taking a few more breaths here. Noticing the expansion of the body on the inhales, the contraction of the body on the exhales. Traditionally, Tonglen meditation is done for others. I believe I mentioned this earlier. It's traditionally done by the practitioner for other people. But because I realize that some of you might be new to this practice, we're going to start with ourselves. Starting with the self can be just a good way to kind of take the concept in before we move on. So on your next inhale, imagine that you are actively inhaling something that you are struggling with. Perhaps it is a physical discomfort. Perhaps it is a thought or a concept. But imagine that you are inhaling your own pain, discomfort, or suffering. But then on your exhale, imagine that you are doing the inverse. Imagine that on the exhale, instead of pain, suffering, or discomfort, you are exhaling ease, comfort, peace. Taking just a few more breaths here. Inhaling suffering, your own personal suffering. Exhaling your own sense of peace and well-being. Frequently in yoga practices, we think that we have to kind of shield ourselves from the outside world, that we need to find the most peaceful and serene and quiet place that we can possibly find. But let's be realistic, that's not the world that we live in. And what good is cultivating this ability to find peace through breath work if we're only able to achieve it when we're already in peaceful circumstances? So if you're hearing any noises outside of your space right now, just allow them to just kind of fade away. See if you can bring your focus back to the breath, bring your focus back to the concept of Tonglen. You could even imagine that on the inhale, you are inhaling maybe your slight irritation with the sounds around you, and you are exhaling contentment and peace. Taking just a few more breaths here. On your next inhale, perhaps you would like to transition your focus to another person, to another individual. This could be somebody that you know quite well. This could be somebody that you are very close to, or this could be somebody that you only know in passing. On your inhales, imagine that you are breathing in and taking in their suffering, their heaviness, their sorrow. But on the exhale, you are exhaling into the rest of the world peace, comfort, happiness, contentment. So as you inhale, breathe in heaviness, heat, pain, sadness. And then exhale, lightness, calmness, ease, relief, contentment. Continuing to breathe here. Tonglen is not always the easiest and most comfortable of practices because it does ask of the practitioner to acknowledge suffering, and not only acknowledge suffering, but acknowledge the suffering of others. So if at any point you would like to return to just your breath awareness in order to kind of settle your mind a little bit, and then return back to the Tonglen, once again, please feel free. I know for me personally, I found it helpful to think of yourself as a filter. Think of yourself as a vehicle. So when you inhale that heaviness, that hotness, that suffering, that pain, you're able to filter and transform that anguish into peace, into ease, into compassion for others. Continuing to breathe here. On your next inhale, perhaps you would like to once again open yourself up a little bit more to a group of people. This group of people could be a relatively small group of people, or it could be a relatively large group of people. As you inhale, you are inhaling these individuals' heaviness, heat, pain, discomfort, and anguish. But on your exhales, you are sharing with them lightness, calmness, ease, relief, contentment, justice. If you have chosen a small group of people to concentrate on, perhaps you'd like to widen your circle even further. Bringing your awareness rather to a larger group of individuals. Inhaling the heaviness, the suffering. Exhaling freedom, freedom from pain, freedom from injustice, freedom from suffering. Perhaps allow your breath to deepen even further. Once again, breathing in the heaviness, the pain, the anguish, the injustice suffered by others. Exhaling, lightness, ease, relief, peace, calmness, contentment, justice. Just a few more breaths here. As you are ready, slowly start to resume normal breath, whatever that means for you. Start to bring your awareness back to the breath itself, the expansion and contraction that happens in the body as you inhale and exhale. As you are ready, if your eyes were closed, slowly start to blink the eyes open, bringing yourself back into your space. Perhaps for just a moment, let's take a little bit of a forward fold here if you are seated. If you are lying on your back, if you'd like to join us in a seated position, please feel free to do so. Once you find a comfortable seat, perhaps just allowing yourself to hinge at the hips, coming forward just a little bit, trying to still maintain that nice alignment in the back body. If you were sitting cross-legged, maybe you'd like to even take your legs wide before you find this little bit of a forward fold. This does not have to be a deep forward fold. This is just kind of a way to further awaken your body a little bit after sitting or perhaps lying down for the last 20 minutes. And then once again, return to a comfortable seat. If there's any little gentle movements you'd like to take, like some wrist rotations in either or both directions, wiggling your fingers, your toes, maybe taking a few seated cat-cows, whatever your body is requesting of you in this moment to kind of help reawaken yourself, please feel free to go ahead and do that. So maybe just some shoulder lifts, maybe a little side bend or a twist. And then everybody can meet up in a comfortable seat. So that was Tonglen meditation. Just a brief introduction to what Tonglen is. If you'd like to look up more information on Tonglen, there's quite a bit of information online, which is fabulous. It's spelled Tonglen. And I'm just going to take a quick perusal of my notes here to make sure that I'm not missing anything that I was really hoping to touch base on today. Tonglen is from the Buddhist tradition. I actually read at one point that there was many years ago, there was a very serious outbreak of leprosy in the Buddhist community, I believe. This particular type of meditation was conceived as a way for the family members of the people that were suffering from this debilitating disease to help that family member. Tonglen helps us to change our attitude about pain and suffering in order to foster compassion. Foster our compassion for our community, foster our compassion for others, for other beings. And it can help the individual to feel less helpless so that you can then move on to taking appropriate action if action is required. It's a common thing to say in yoga that mindfully breathing allows us to put space in between action and our own personal reaction so that you can act instead of only react. There's a lot of reactionary humans. This particular practice could be a way to kind of focus yourself and to help your own practice of fostering compassion for other people. Let's see here. As I was saying during the practice, if this makes you feel uncomfortable, because it's definitely, it asks a lot of the practitioner to acknowledge that there is suffering, and to not only not shy away from that suffering, but to take it into our own personal bodies, into our own personal space. That can be a challenge for a lot of people, especially if you have experienced any kind of trauma in your own life. So think of yourself as a filter. Instead of thinking of yourself as a vessel in which that suffering will reside, think of yourself as a filter. The suffering comes in, but the peace, you are the one that helps to foster that peace. The peace comes out. The compassion is what you're actually focusing on. But we cannot foster our compassion practices without confronting suffering, without being like, wow, there's a lot of suffering going on. Yes, and as I said earlier too, Tonglen is traditionally done for others. But if you are new to this practice and you would like to just do it for yourself, at least initially, especially if you are suffering from a physical or mental, spiritual pain that you feel you need some help with, this is something you can also do for yourself. And then allow your circle to move outwards in order to foster compassion for others. In all honesty, I wish I was being a little bit more articulate today. I wish I was more eloquent. But this is what I have to share, and I think that this is important stuff. I hope that this brief introduction of Tonglen meditation was helpful to you, and I hope that you can carry it into the rest of your life, and the next time you meditate, if you are a meditator, consider doing Tonglen. Consider sharing Tonglen with others. It's time America opens up our eyes and acknowledges the injustices and the suffering, and this is a way to get started in doing this. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you to those of you who have been joining me during this whole COVID situation in which West End Yoga has had to be closed. You might have heard that next week, starting I think it's June 8th, in like 2 days, we will be starting Zoom classes. So look at our website for details on those Zoom classes and to register for those Zoom classes. Once you register for a class, you will be emailed a link so that you can join that Zoom class. So it's best not to wait till the very last minute to sign up for the class so that you have that information ahead of time. And when I mean the last minute, I sometimes don't decide I'm going to do a yoga class till like 2 minutes before. So maybe give yourself at least 5 minutes to register for the class ahead of time. We have a wonderful group of yoga teachers. I'm one of them. I'm not saying I'm a wonderful yoga teacher. I'm just saying please join their classes. And also, West End Yoga stands in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement. And for the first month that we're doing our Zoom classes, we will be donating a percentage of our proceeds to Black Lives Matters and other local social justice organizations. So know that by attending our classes, you are not just doing something good for you, and you're not obviously supporting, you are supporting a small business, you're helping West End, but you are also going to be helping the Black Lives Matters movement as well. All right. It was wonderful to not see you. It was wonderful to be able to share this practice with you. I would love to see you in my Zoom classes so that I can actually see you. Please look at the schedule. I will be teaching a Friday 5:30, basically a restorative yoga practice with a little bit of gentle movement at the beginning, and then Saturdays at 10:30, it will be replacing what I've been posting on YouTube. Saturdays at 10:30, I will be teaching a beginner-friendly alignment yoga class. So if you know anyone new to yoga or anyone who is interested in starting a yoga practice or is interested in learning more about alignment yoga, please feel free to join me. All right. Thank you so much. No matter where you are, I'm so glad that I could share this practice with you. Have a good rest of your weekend. Namaste.